we had a roadie, and he used to like making great big hampers, and in fact became quite a sort of, on the road. Other groups were quite jealous of us. We'd become as a support band with a great hamper full of stuff, and sausages and stuff coming out of this, and they were sort of having to I don't know what they were living off.
The original drummer left after he passed the port the wrong way at dinner, so they auditioned this young tyke. He was slightly older at the time.
We went to the back garden where there was a swimming pool, and there was a piano on the patio, and Mike Rutherford appeared in a smoking jacket and slippers. And I thought, this is great, This is strange as well.
Due mainly to Peter Gabriel's Dali-esque mullet, which joined the classic coiffures of the rest of the band on a barnstorming tour of Italy, now their biggest fan base. But Gabriel's shoe and stage antics were making the new boy nervous.
He just started to do things, because again there was a lot of instrumental passages where nothing happened.
So I then evolved this thing of telling stories between the songs.
Old Michael continued to rub his flesh into the ground. It was perhaps Jerusalem boogie, but to the birds it meant supper is ready.
In 1972, they invented a prog phenomena, the concept song. Supper's Ready, a 23-minute novella.
People always think we set out to always write great epic songs. We didn't. Writing long songs is actually much easier than writing short songs.
But there were worried whispers when a first hit single came in at only 4 minutes. Had they forsaken prog? Oh no.
A flower.
People at that time, they hadn't seen anyone dressing up in that way with music, and it was disturbing.
But not as disturbing as Gabriel wearing a pair of jeans and calling himself Rail for their 1974 album, which was about a parallel universe in New York. We think. Had he forsaken prog again? Oh no. But Gabriel's singing Hemorrhoid proved unpopular with the rest of the band.
It was at that point we felt that perhaps the whole thing had gone a little bit too far that way. It just started to take over. And there wasn't a single review that really talked about anything apart from the way it looked.
So, mid-tour, Gabriel left, taking his lumpy prog bum grate with him. The dressing-up cupboard was bare, and Collins took over.
The audience, had been used to this maniac running around, coming out of big phallic tubes and all this kind of slipper man costume, and I thought, all they're going to get is me, What a terrible disappointment.
Am I wrong to believe in the city of gold?
The smallest man in prog resorted to wearing furry moon boots and dressing as a gnome as the band changed direction.
The audience was a lot of long greatcoats, fishing hats and albums under the arm saying, "All right, Phil!" That kind of thing. Never a woman in sight, unless she had a long greatcoat with albums under her arm as well.
I will follow you, follow me, the days and nights that we know will be.
And then suddenly we had a hit with Follow You, Follow Me. And all these guys who'd been trying to bring their girlfriends, who all went, I don't know that band, they suddenly said, hang on, Doris, this is that song you like.
Let's get over here and see the lovely Genesis plant. Now, if you see over here, he's got a lovely little bits of growth over here. It's an ugly looking brute. Yes, it's an ugly little brute, yes. Have a look at that there.
Hit songs, girls at concerts, kids' TV. This isn't prog.
We just thought, fuck it, let's sell out. I'm tired of defending the fact that we wrote 3 or 4 minute songs and had a bit of success,
There was never a dance element to their music, but Genesis still became the poppest band in prog. And then there were the solo sidelines. Phil tossed off a chart topper. Mike and his band of tools powered to the top as well. While Tony chased sheep with a fish on a bike. In 1996, Phil packed up his drum kit and went solo for good.
I always thought that as long as the majority of the members of the original Genesis are still in the band, there would always be the Genesis thing. And with Tony and Mike still being there, albeit with another man singing, the spirit of Genesis for the true Genesis fan would still be there.
But it wasn't. After one album, Rutherford, Banks and the other bloke called it a day.
Love us or hate us, we were certainly unique.
A flower.
Before we unveil the undisputed kings in the court of Prog, let's take a fond look back through the swirling mists of time at those other caped crusaders.
Faithful, sure-footed, slightly smelly, Camel at 10. Give me gin and tonic, he was Frippatronic, King Crimson at 9. Now this was Acid House, Hawkwind at 8. At 7, Canadian Lumber Rock, Rush. Cooey, Mr. Shifter, ELP at 6. 5 for a boy band, oh yes. Is that a flute in his codpiece? Jethro Tull at 4. Jesus, he's back. The Moody Blues at 3. And at 2, it's Posh Prog, Genesis.
And now we come to the top of Prog's Premier League, the grandest in the glittering pantheon of proggerati. A 3-decade odyssey featuring drugs, psychosis, giant inflatable pigs, racing cars, implausibly large crumpets, and a breakup that makes the fragmentation of the Eastern Bloc look chummy and good-natured.
The Pink Floyd. You're going to hear them in a minute, and I don't want to prejudice you. Hear them and see them first, and we'll talk about them afterwards.
Oh, Pink Floyd. Now then, Pink Floyd. Were they prog rock?
Perhaps I'm a little bit too much of a musician to fully appreciate them. They have an audience, and people who have an audience ought to be heard. Perhaps it's my fault that I don't appreciate them.
The best album, other than the Beatles' Red One and Blue One, and never mind the bollocks, is The Wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. I grew up smoking fucking pot, eating magic mushrooms, listening to that. I know every word of every song, all in the correct order, and I could sing it to you fucking right now if you put it on a CD player. I'd have to be drunk though.
Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
This is The Wall, a despicable album by the Pink Floyd. Proved very popular because of the imagery of Gerald's scarf. We don't need no education. And probably marked the death of prog rock.
So who were the architects of progressive rock's destruction? Funnily enough, a bunch of architectural students from the class of '65. Roger Waters, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, and Roger's mate Sid, who decided to form a band.
The Pink Floyd, once called the Underground's House Orchestra. On Friday nights, they and other groups play at UFO, UFO, unidentified flying object.
Sid Barrett was the center of the group in those days, and he had a great voice, and he was a great guitar player. Roger Waters and Nick Mason were a great and very unusual rhythm section. Roger was a really original bass player.
They were the hippest band on the psychedelic scene.